Hey, Rebel Rouser. I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7. We're at episode number 1695 today. And thank you so much for joining me for it, and thank you for subscribing to the show if you're doing that already, wherever you happen to like to catch it. And for all the patrons out there, thank you again so much for your support and for helping to make this show possible through your contributions at patreon.com/SW7x7. All right, so we're going to talk about an interview with J.J. Abrams that was captured by the fine folks at Entertainment Tonight. It was on the red carpet, if you will, for a thing called the Oscar Wilde Award, and that's actually put on by the U.S. Ireland Alliance every year. It's in its 14th year now, and it was actually hosted at Bad Robots facilities out in Southern California. And so here's how the interview actually starts, which, well, I'll let it speak for itself. It's J.J. Abrams and his wife, the producer, Katie McGrath. Here they are.
A little bit about what this event is, what it means, and how you actually go about selecting the honorees.
You take this one.
I'm just going to be quick on this because that's not what they really care about.
And, you know, she's absolutely right. We all know exactly what's coming down the pike, and this is almost like, oh yeah, it's just a pretext to be able to ask all the episode 9 questions. So it's kind of terrible in its way that this is the case, and yet, you know, Katie McGrath knows exactly what's up. But she's game, and she gives the full answer on this, which, you know what? Let's just hear what she has to say.
Trina Vargo, who runs the U.S. Ireland Alliance, is sort of the mastermind of all of this, and I think her vision for it is to always bring a combination of like the sort of most interesting artists from the U.S. and Ireland together, and to look for synergies for the two countries to do great, you know, interesting projects together. And it's always fun because there's great live music, and there's always, you know, some comedians, and it's just a fun, warm night, and lots of Guinness, which is always a plus.
So there you go. Sounds like fun. And, you know, back when the whole family got to go to Ireland in 2016, just before Star Wars Celebration Europe, I don't know if you can see it back there, but there's a thing from doing the Perfect Pint Challenge at the moorings in Portmagee in Ireland, which is where many of the cast and crew stayed while filming The Force Awakens. So, yeah, I can get behind something that has Guinness involved in it, I'll say. Anyway, so yes, of course, pretty much the immediate next question is about episode 9. And so here is Ash Crossan from Entertainment Tonight grilling J.J. Abrams about episode 9.
Now, JJ, I got to ask you, you just wrapped episode 9. That photo made me emotional just looking at it. Can you talk about that moment on set, wrapping that film?
It was actually a pretty emotional thing, but the cast and crew just did an unbelievable job, and I just cannot wait for you to see what we got going for you.
Yeah, I got to ask you because, you know, The Last Jedi, people reacted to it how they did. Did that change the way that you approached episode 9 at all?
Did which?
Did the way that you approached episode 9, was that affected by the way that people reacted to The Last Jedi at all?
No, I mean, I think that every movie is its own movie, and obviously this is a trilogy. We brought to that movie all the passion and hard work that we would have no matter what. So I think, I think the story speaks for itself. I really, truly can't wait for you to see it.
Yeah. Can I just ask you about directing Billy D. Williams as Lando and what that was like for you? Because I know you're a big fan, but we get to see him as Lando again.
I'd met him once before, and he was such a sweet guy, but I got to tell you, I have such unbelievable respect for him. We had a great time, and he was wonderful. I mean, everyone on set had this. He just had this aura around him. He's really an incredible man and an incredible actor.
Can you give me kind of like maybe a word or something we're going to feel going out of this movie? Because we've seen, you know, 2 other Star Wars trilogies come to a close. How does this stack up compared to, you know, Sith and Jedi?
You'll have to determine that, you know, yourself. But I really can't wait for you to see it. And there are a lot of words that we all hope that you feel. And obviously the biggest, most important one I think is satisfied.
And fans are just clamoring for that title. Can you give us any kind of hint of when we're getting it?
No. But listen, but it's really fun talking to you, though.
All right, let's unpack this a bit, shall we? First of all, the title. All right. Enough already. Stop teasing us with the title. I mean, Anthony Daniels just spent a few days on Twitter teasing people and making them think it was going to be all about the title reveal, and it turned out to be about his memoirs, which, good for him playing that prank on everyone, but it's not like he would necessarily know. Like, is Lucasfilm publicity along with Disney publicity, like, are they really going to be keeping the actors in the loop about when they're going to tell everyone the title? No, I don't think so. Not really. So, yeah, this title business. And are we really going to have to relitigate this Last Jedi business every single time we do an interview with somebody about episode 9? I mean, really, I hope that is not the case. I hope we can just decide that we're going to judge episode 9 on its own merits, all right? Everybody thinks what they want to think about The Last Jedi, and everybody can argue about whether one side's in the majority or one side's in the minority, okay? I think we've done that to death. I think, to borrow the Austin Powers phrase, that train has sailed. So perhaps we can just kind of, start talking about episode 9, just about episode 9, all right? I think that's fair. Or, drag The Force Awakens into it instead because J.J. Abrams did that one, okay? Like, I think that's fair too. But aside from that, and dragging The Force Awakens into this, the reaction of the interview, the one thing that he gave that's new at all, I think, is, of all the words that anybody could possibly have in reacting to this thing, that the number one word, like the biggest word that they're interested in, is satisfied. So, it makes me think about what George Lucas said about The Force Awakens, and paraphrasing, but that he, made the movie that the fans wanted. And that, from George Lucas, is kind of a backhanded compliment in a way, because, George Lucas is almost cut from the Steve Jobs sort of cloth in that way, where he's not necessarily thinking about what the fans want, but he's thinking about the story and what needs to be told. And yeah, you could get into the details about that. But, for what Ewan McGregor has said recently about how satisfying it is that people who grew up with the prequel movies, like that was their childhood generation set of movies, and how they've come to him now that they're older and been able to express their appreciation for those movies, how satisfying that is considering what he went through at the time. Same kind of thing. So J.J. Abrams is making a movie that will leave people satisfied. And, that could be very good news in a sense. I don't know if it'll make George Lucas happy necessarily, but, it seems like it's the kind of thinking that is going to hopefully lead to a satisfactory conclusion, or it's just going to create fodder for everybody to start arguing about again. So maybe there's just no winning in this thing, and we can just all decide to like what we want to like, and if there's something that we don't want to like, then we can just be polite about expressing that sort of thing. And that, aside from a little bit of housekeeping, is going to do it for this episode. And the housekeeping is very simple and straightforward. It's, hey, subscribe to this thing if you're not already, all right? Just, tap or click or do whatever you need to do wherever you're listening or wherever you're watching. Please make this a part of your daily life. Or, hey, if you listen to Star Wars stuff or watch Star Wars stuff on a weekly basis, well, you can bunch 7 of these together, and suddenly it's as long as one weekly episode of a Star Wars weekly podcast like that. So, hey, give it a shot. And also, if you do think that the work being done here for you on a daily basis is worth your time and possibly even worth a little bit of money, then I hope you'll consider supporting the show at patreon.com/SW7X7, supporting me, really. And that is going to do it for today's episode. That's the housekeeping done. And except for, of course, this last thing, which is for me to say, may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.